I had this nervous feeling in my stomach all day leading up to the game because I was worried about the Jets' offense, and sure enough, it was a struggle. They scored only 6 points and did not manage to score a touchdown against one of the worst defenses in the league. Now, of course, when the offense struggles, then everyone blames the quarterback, and even more so when it's Zach Wilson. But I think the offense as a whole is just broken. Don't get me wrong, Zach made some mistakes, but let's also consider what he was dealing with. His offensive line got him sacked 8 times, including 2 sacks on the opening drive of the second half, after Zach led the team down the field, going 4 of 4 for 60 yards, getting the team in the red zone, and then 2 plays in a row, he just gets swallowed up immediately, has no time to throw, and that's it. They also had costly turnovers. Now, Zach had 2 fumbles that he lost, but both of those were caused by his offensive line not protecting him. Sure, Zach can do a better job of anticipating the pressure, and he needs to protect the ball, but his offensive line wasn't much help on those. The Garrett Wilson fumble was a rough one too, because the offense had just started moving the ball for the first time, and then all of a sudden, Wilson just fumbles the ball away. The Jets also had some killer penalties that ruined good plays and stopped drives. False starts, illegal shifts, holding, illegal block in the back, you name it. The Jets were probably called for it. Drops were a problem too. Lazard had another one today. That's something he struggled with all season. And then obviously Uzomah had the one in the end zone. Now, the game was already over at that point, but it pretty much summed up how the game went. Robert Saleh was asked after the game if he thought Zach Wilson took a step back with his performance, and he said no. He said he thought that it wasn't Zach's best game, but it wasn't even close to being his worst game either. He said it was just a bizarre game where every single time they got a little bit of momentum, then they shot themselves in the foot. And if you look at the mistakes that Zach made today, then it was really just little stuff. I mean, aside from the fumbles, he had some missed throws. There was also the play where he probably could have run for a first down, but instead he tossed it to Michael Carter. But there really wasn't anything egregious, and it's not like he directly lost them the game. I think the offense as a whole is what lost them the game because of a combination of bad offensive line play, penalties, and drops. And I've said this before, but I feel like people have a hard time with Zach because he set the bar for himself so low at the end of last season. I mean, we were at a point where he could barely even complete a pass. He's come a long way from that point though. He said after the game he feels like he's in the best place mentally that he's ever been, and that he feels like he really understands the game now, and so it's frustrating for him that it isn't clicking. And I see a different player out there on the field than the Zach Wilson we saw the past 2 years. He looks way more confident out there and actually looks like he knows what he's doing. Like, he looks like an NFL quarterback, which hasn't always been the case, especially last season. Zach is currently on a streak of 118 pass attempts without an interception. That is the second longest streak of his career. And he's also thrown just 1 interception in his last 219 pass attempts, which is 1 interception in his last 24 quarters of football. So the growth is there. It's just not really translating into touchdowns right now. Hopefully that's the next step. But honestly, at this point, we've seen 8 games of this team, and I think this is probably just who they are. Their offensive line is depleted. They are a wide receiver or 2 short, not to mention the fact that Breece Hall is their only reliable running back. So they're just going to have to make do with what they have for now. But if it didn't work tonight, then I don't know when it's going to work, because that was the worst pass defense in the entire league, and they didn't even score a touchdown.